Begin with breaking news out of Iran, where Israel says it's been conducting precise strikes on military targets. Loud explosions were reported around the capital, Tehran. Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari gave a statement on the attacks. He says they come in retaliation for the barrage of ballistic missiles that Iran fired at Israel earlier this month. Loud explosions have also been reported near the Syrian capital, Damascus. Let's have a listen to a bit more of what Hagari had to say in that statement.
The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the State of Israel has the right and the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the State of Israel and the people of Israel.
OK, so on this breaking story, we've got DW's Middle East correspondent, Tania Krämer. She's joining us live now from Jerusalem. Tania, great to see you. Perhaps you can walk us through what we know about these Israeli strikes which we've seen on Iran.
Well, what we know at this stage is basically that the attack or the retaliation is still going on as it appears right now. We're in the early stages of this operation now. Shortly after 2 a.m. local time here, we got a statement from the Israeli military, and we just heard parts of it from Daniel Hagari there, that the military, that the Air Force is carrying out precise strikes on military targets in Iran. And there have been reports from Iran about explosions, mainly in Tehran, but there are more reports coming in also from explosions in other areas in Iran, including as well from other countries here, as in Syria. We also have reported strikes there. It's unclear yet how they are related to all of that. So we are trying to understand now what the scope and the scale of this attack is, and what exactly are these military targets. You know, that could be air defenses, that could be military barracks, all kind of different targets. And that would also, of course, then give us an understanding how Iran would then respond to that, because it is said, it was reported here, that there might be also a very quick Iranian response depending on the scale and the scope of this attack by Israel.
Yeah, and everyone will be looking out for that. We can see, actually, we've just been seeing live pictures from Tehran on the screen there. Our viewers can take a look at them. Tania, what strategy is the Israeli government pursuing here? The country's already fighting a war on 2 other fronts, in Lebanon and in Gaza. What's the thinking behind doing this now?
Well, this retaliation has been somehow expected. It comes after the ballistic missile attack by Iran on Israel on October 1st, when it launched several hundred ballistic missiles at Israel. And ever since, everybody had been waiting for this retaliation now by Israel. At that time, the attack by Iran was also retaliatory action for the killing of a Hamas leader in Tehran, as Iran has said, and also for the killing of Hezbollah, a proxy of Iran, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut. So this has been going on, like in a sense of a tit for tat, you know, coming out of a shadow war between Iran and Israel in recent years. We had a first direct attack in April. There was again retaliatory action by Iran for an attack by Israel on a diplomatic compound in Damascus. So this has been going on. And I think the danger, what we are seeing here right now, is that this could become a wider regional war. It depends really now to understand, we understand these are military targets, so that is very important to understand. But of course now the scope and scale of these military targets, then where this is going. And of course, as you said, Israel is fighting a war war in Gaza against Hamas for the past year, and of course against Hezbollah now in the north. So we have several fronts that are open here.
Have we had any reaction yet from Iran, Tania?
We haven't heard any reaction yet, and of course this is now the question that is being discussed here as well. I think, as I said, we are still in the early stages of this operation. It depends certainly on exactly what targets Israel has struck in this strike, and how Iran will then choose to respond to this. There had been, in the anticipation of this, in the lead up to this retaliatory action now by Israel, there had been some reports expecting that Iran might strike back very quickly, but it really depends now on the scope and scale of that, what Iran will choose to do.
Tania, thank you so much for joining us from Jerusalem, for bringing us up to date for your reporting. It's really great to have you on the show, and we really appreciate it. And our viewers can continue to see, or have been continuing to see, some of those live pictures out of Tehran. Looks quite still at the moment, but we are getting those feeds, that video coming in of the city, the Iranian capital, those live pictures, and we'll keep an eye on them as we continue our reporting of this. Now, we're going to bring in DW special correspondent Ibrahim. She's joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us. What's been the response? Have we had any response yet from the White House, Aya?
Well, we've heard the National Security Council spokesperson say that Israel is currently conducting strikes, targeted strikes on military targets, and the key point there being military targets, because this strike, this retaliatory attack, has been a long time coming, and something that's been discussed here in Washington for the past 3 weeks since that Iranian attack on Israel on October 1st. And there was, of course, a lot of speculation whether it was going to be targeting power facilities or even nuclear facilities. So that is something that stood out to me in that NSC statement. And the other thing, of course, is that that this counterattack is happening within the framework of Israel's right of self-defense. So that's pretty much in line with what we have been hearing out of Washington virtually since the beginning of this war, and certainly since the beginning of the series of escalations directly with Iran. We know that there are the United States forces are not directly participating in this retaliatory attack. But about a week ago, the United States did send a THAAD air defense system to Israel, along with about 100 U.S. troops to operate that air defense system in anticipation of how Iran would then react to this counterattack. So certainly something that will be observed closely in Washington. And we know that the U.S. President, Joe Biden, is not in the White House, but has been briefed on the matter.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear that the authorities in Washington knew that this was coming as this strike by Israel started on Iran. It's full election fever in the United States right now. How does this strike fit into campaigns? I know it might be a bit too early to start discussing that, but perhaps you can take us through what this might mean for the election campaign, with the vote coming in less than 2 weeks.
Correct. The White House was briefed a few hours, was given we're told a few hours heads up before the strike started. In terms of the effect that this could have on the election campaign, I think we can expect to hear more of the same from both sides. We will probably be hearing the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump talk more about how all of this never would have happened under his watch, and the Democrat presidential candidate and the current vice president continue with her calls, which have been pretty much in line with the current administration calls for de-escalation. Anthony Blinken was just recently in the region, and he did address what was then an anticipated retaliatory attack, but is the attack that is ongoing right now. And he said that that retaliatory attack should not lead to more escalation. So we can expect, although we haven't heard from the two candidates yet, that they continue talking about this in the way that they have been throughout. But it's been a very emotive topic in the election. So I'd be surprised if we don't start hearing reactions from both candidates very soon, Jack.
Ibrahim in Washington, D.C., thank you so much for joining us on the show and bringing that insight for us.